So we're gonna start this project with a platter from Dollar Tree. We're gonna be using the back. So I'm first gonna start by putting the E6000 because it takes a little bit longer to dry. What we're gonna do though is we're gonna take the beads and we're just gonna place them right next to one another. And we're just gonna follow this all the way around the circumference of the tray. All right, so now that we are finished with the gluing portion, what we're gonna do next is we're gonna be taking Rust-Oleum chalked paint in white linen, and we are gonna paint this whole surface. All right, so now that my tray and my beads have been painted, what we're gonna do next is we are gonna be taking a printable that I have created, and we are gonna be placing it on our tray, and then we're gonna basically be kind of cutting the edges off. And then from there, we are going to take, I have glue, I have tacky glue, but you can also use Mod Podge. I'm gonna start by lightly brushing it on the tray. You wanna make sure that you're like evenly dispersing this. So we are gonna place it. We go across just to smooth it out. All right, so I added a little bit of water to my glue. I'm gonna go back in just to add that layer. And then once we've secured the whole thing, we're gonna paint over it with our glue. We're gonna take an 18-inch wreath frame that I got on Amazon, and we are going to take some nautical rope that I got from Dollar Tree. And we are going to be cutting it into smaller pieces to place around our wreath. We're gonna take the loop under, we're gonna pull it through, that you're gonna see a knot on the top. So we're gonna go around the entire perimeter. Now that we have a dried beach vibes only on the tray, I'm going to be taking some black acrylic paint that I got at Dollar Tree, taking a dry brush, and I'm just gonna make sure that I don't have too much. I'm gonna be taking a ruler. We're gonna go across. All right, so we're just gonna keep going all the way up. And now that this is all dry, we are gonna be taking our hot glue gun. I'm using Gorilla Glue. I'm gonna make sure it's centered. I'm gonna let that sit for just a moment. So for this final step, I'm going to be taking my last bit of rope, and I'm gonna use my hot glue, basically just to kind of cover that gap. And here's the after of my Dollar Tree plate DIY boho wreath. I think it turned out really, really pretty. I'm really loving how it looks in my home.
You're gonna wanna use a disposable bowl. You're gonna get the water for your recipe. Mine called for 450 milliliters. I dumped the cement powder in, and then it was time to pour in the water. And as you can see, I'm wearing gloves, which is highly recommended when you're mixing up cement. I slowly poured in the water and stirred the mix until it became like a pancake batter consistency. I stirred for about 5 minutes, ensuring that I got all the clumps. You're gonna want your mixture to be as smooth as possible so you can pour it into the mold. And now it's time to grab your mold. You can use anything like a pizza baking dish or something like that that is disposable. And you can use any shape you like. I'm doing a square mold. And I'm using my tool to scrape all the mixture from the Tupperware into the mold. Next, you're gonna wanna pick up your mold and slowly start tilting it from side to side, ensuring that the mixture fills in all the corners and that everything feels pretty even. I used the same tool just to smooth the top as much as possible and to even everything out just a little bit more. I grabbed my second smaller kit and followed the exact same steps. This one goes a lot quicker because it's a smaller amount. I just poured in water and stirred up my cement paste until it was a smooth pancake batter consistency. I grabbed my smaller mold and used the tool to scrape the bowl and add the mixture to the mold. I tried to make it as smooth as possible. Filling this mold took no time compared to the large one. It took less than a minute. Used the tool to make it as even as I could. I set both molds aside to dry for a little while. The directions I was following suggested that I let my large mold sit for an hour, and once that time passed, I was able to add my mosaic tiles. This just gives it enough time to kind of set up and accept the tiles just a little bit better. And I slowly just started filling in every bit of my stone until I was happy. Letting your mixture set up and harden is really helpful because you're actually able to use your hands to press down on all the tiles to make sure everything is stuck down into the cement mixture. It worked really well for me. I waited about 36 hours before removing the large stepping stone from the mold. It came out super easily, even easier than I expected, and I love how smooth the backside is. I really love how the mosaic turned out. Unfortunately, I didn't have as good a luck on the small mold. It was just too thin to come out smoothly from the mold. I used a knife to try and pry up one edge and the whole thing cracked. But I have a plan B. And plan B is to paint the backside of the mosaic tile on the really smooth side, which works out really well. So all I do here is take my stencil, lay it out flat, and then take the glow-in-the-dark paint and foam brush and just gently dab the paint on. I used 2 coats. My daughter Vivian chose to use the mosaic side in her gnome garden. I think think it looks so great. I love the colors. It all goes so well together. And here's a nighttime view of the other side of the tile with the glow-in-the-dark paint, which I think turned out really cool.
We have one of our 14-inch wire frames here, along with a box of pipe cleaners. This beige is not going to stand out, which is definitely what we want. We don't want to be able to see much of these in the end. We're going to take one pipe cleaner and place it on the inner 2 rings of each section. So again, same process. Now it's just on the outer 2 wires. Pull it really, really tight and twist it 2 or 3 times. Right there. So it should look kind of like this, spidery. We're going to use this white and tan natural jute 10-inch by 10-yard deco mesh. We're going to cut our pieces about 16 inches long. So we're going to cut 1 piece for every twist, which means 18 individual pieces, 10 inches, approximately 16 inches wide. So once you've cut your mesh, you're going to have a bunch of pieces all over your table, 18 to be exact. So a piece approximately 16 inches by 10 inches. What you're going to do is just lie it flat on the table and simply gather the middle towards you. And in the end, you should create a bow tie. Think of like pasta or a bow tie to wear. That's what we want to create. And then we're going to place 1 piece in every twist tie or pipe cleaner. Now that we have all of our mesh on the outside, we have our final few pieces towards the inside. So I've decided to add an additional mesh. For this mesh, we're not going to add it to every twist since we already have our base. We're going to need to cut 9 pieces, so 1 for every other twist, approximately same length, which is about 16 inches. I love showing you guys different techniques, so we're actually going to work in a different technique. So our base is made out of the ruffle technique. Now we're going to be working in what is known as a curl. So we're adding the color contrast and we're adding the texture contrast. So all we did is roll it up like a paper towel tube. Then what you're going to do is you're going to open up your twist and place 1 piece in every other twist. Just continue rotating, working your mesh in. So we're going to take these pieces of ribbon and we're going to cut them approximately 12 to 13 inches long. We're not even really going to measure. What we're going to use is our eyes. So all we have to do is just cut 1 as an example and then cut 9 pieces of that. So 18 twists on this frame. We're going to need 9 pieces of one color and 9 of the other. So I've cut 9 pieces of each color and dovetailed them ahead of time. And what we're going to do is we're going to place the white on top of the blue mesh, so there's that contrast, and then place the blue ribbon on top of that white mesh. So just alternate between each, and you should be good to go. So then you can just take your sign and feed it through the mesh. Do the same thing to the other side. Most important thing is that you're securing your sign directly to the metal base. You don't want to be securing your sign just to the mesh, because what ends up happening over time is anything that has some weight to it, signs, larger ornaments, embellishments, they tend to sag or pull the mesh down over time. So we'll go throughout the entire wreath, tuck in our pipe cleaners, and fluff. And here is the finished wreath. So very, very simple, you guys, and totally customizable. Thank you all so much for watching.